had always known that trust was fragile, but I never expected betrayal to come wrapped in the guise of finality. Julia, my wife of 7 years, had spent the past few weeks growing distant, cold, her words clipped and sharp. Then came the text I had been dreading. "I'm done." She didn't explain, she didn't argue. She simply declared her exit, as if a few words could sever years of shared life. At first, anger surged hot and raw, but I held it back. Experience had taught me that rash reactions only fuel chaos, while patience and observation reveal the truth. I smiled quietly, almost imperceptibly, because I knew her words were not the end. They were the start of a chain of events that would reveal her true intentions. Over the next few days, I watched her carefully. Every glance, every hidden conversation, every subtle shift in her demeanor pointed to something deeper. She wasn't leaving out of simple dissatisfaction. There was deceit woven into her actions, a betrayal she thought she could conceal. But she underestimated me. I wasn't about to confront her blindly. Instead, I let her make her moves, confident that the truth would surface in ways she couldn't control. One evening, I noticed the signs. Late messages, secretive phone calls, small inconsistencies that betrayed a hidden agenda. The pieces fell into place. Julia had been planning her exit not as a breakup, but as a betrayal, a move meant to catch me off guard, to make me the unsuspecting victim of her deception. But timing is everything in life, and I had already prepared myself mentally, emotionally, and strategically. I would not be blindsided. I began laying subtle groundwork, setting the stage for what I knew would be her downfall. The power of patience, combined with careful observation, was intoxicating. While she thought she was orchestrating my defeat, I quietly collected the evidence, documented the inconsistencies, and allowed her actions to create the perfect narrative for exposure. By the time she realized her plan was unraveling, it would be too late to reclaim control. Julia's movements became more obvious over the next few days. Subtle at first, a whispered conversation over the phone, a text deleted before I could see it, but increasingly brazen. She thought she was clever, thinking I wouldn't notice, that I would be blinded by shock when her betrayal fully surfaced. But I had already predicted every step, every gesture, every attempt at manipulation. I kept my own demeanor calm, even inviting, letting her believe she had the upper hand. In our conversations, I smiled warmly, asked questions lightly, and never gave away that I was fully aware of her deception. Her smug confidence grew, which only fueled the satisfaction I felt, knowing that her overconfidence would be her undoing. Then came the moment that cemented her downfall. Julia had planned a surprise dinner, intending to lure me into a situation where she could manipulate others into thinking I was the one at fault. Angry, irrational, unstable. But I had anticipated it. I had arranged for a few friends to be present, under the pretense of celebrating something unrelated. She didn't know they would witness every moment, every subtle reveal, every reaction that would expose her true intentions. As she poured wine, arranged the plates, and smiled that calculated smile, I watched closely. Every tiny slip, every hesitant glance, every forced laugh. These were the cracks in her perfect facade. I didn't interrupt. I didn't accuse. I let her actions speak louder than words. The room's atmosphere grew tense, the anticipation thick, as if everyone instinctively felt the invisible web of betrayal she had spun. Finally, I addressed her directly, in a tone calm but precise, weighted with authority. "Julia, there's something we need to discuss. I've seen everything. The texts, the messages, the efforts to hide the truth. Care to explain?" Her confident posture faltered. Her carefully constructed plan began to unravel in the presence of witnesses. I could see the panic in her eyes as the realization hit. Her betrayal would no longer go unnoticed, and she was powerless to stop the consequences of her own actions. The room fell silent as Julia realized the trap she had walked into. Her carefully constructed plan of deceit, intended to make me appear unreasonable, was crumbling before my eyes. I remained calm, letting the weight of the moment and the presence of witnesses amplify the consequences of her betrayal. I placed the phone on the table, displaying the texts she thought were private. The messages, casual and insidious, revealed her intentions in black and white. "I thought you wouldn't notice," she muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. But the room had already seen it. Friends who had been quietly observing now looked between us, the truth undeniable. I didn't yell. I didn't attack. Instead, I let the evidence speak, letting her feel the magnitude of what she had attempted. Julia, I said slowly, deliberately. You thought you could orchestrate everything without anyone knowing, but you underestimated how carefully I observe, how patiently I wait, and how precisely I act. Your betrayal has backfired. Her eyes welled up, the mask of control slipping completely. For 15 long minutes, the room held its collective breath as she attempted to explain, justify, and reason. But every word faltered against the undeniable proof of her actions. She had expected manipulation to work in her favor. Instead, it had exposed her in a way that left no room for denial. By the end of the evening, Julia's arrogance had completely eroded. Her betrayal, meant to humiliate me, had turned into her own public reckoning. I had remained composed, strategic, and unflinchingly calm, letting the truth reveal itself naturally. The lesson was clear. Betrayal, no matter how cleverly executed, has a way of backfiring when underestimated. As I watched her leave the room, shoulders slumped, tears glistening, I felt a quiet sense of vindication. Revenge is not about rage, it's about timing, control, and precision. Tonight, every calculated step, every moment of patience, had ensured that justice was served in the most dramatic and undeniable way. And for the first time in weeks, I could finally breathe, knowing that the truth had been restored, and that her betrayal would serve as a lesson she would never forget.